Jersey, the burning rose continues. The beginning. Part 5. After our house was rebuilt, some of us migrated back to Egg Harbor. Not many. Most found their lives in the city or elsewhere. But now, the Africans were older, with families of their own, trying to build something different. The church was a major part of my life, a space where kids like us were either dreamers or street nightmares. Pop-Up's attempt to preserve us led us back to move to Egg Harbor again, so me being the youngest, I had no other choice but to go. But life wasn't the same. My older siblings started moving out, and life became harder and harder for me to cope with. I had to get from under Pop-Up's covering. He couldn't protect me anymore. I had to go. But I wouldn't leave without taking my word with me. After growing up in this place, feeling lost and unwanted, things only got worse as my older siblings moved out, started families, and built lives of their own. I felt even more alone, trapped in darkness that seemed to stretch endlessly around me. School became harder and harder to focus on, not because I lacked intelligence, but because life kept pulling me away from it. My sports, one of the few things that gave me joy, were taken from me. Not because I wasn't good enough, but because my responsibilities at home came first. It was my turn now. My turn to carry the weight. I had to be home for chores. I had to take care of the little ones who came after us, my younger cousins, because my uncles and their women had lost their way. And so, like a cycle I never agreed to be a part of, I was left to pick up the pieces. I had so much talent, so much potential, but no real support. Pop-Up couldn't be there for me. He was already carrying a burden so heavy, trying to hold this house together. After the devastating loss he had just suffered, I could only feel for him. That didn't change the fact that the weight of it all was crushing me. The burdens were toiling deep within my spirit, and I really wasn't sure how much I could take. I went to him lying, saying that I was going to the community center. He looked at me dead in my face, tears in his eyes, and said, "You're not coming back." And he was right. I took my Bible, called my older sister, and left to stay with her in Atlantic City. Once again, not knowing what was ahead of me, but could no longer stay in the world I was living. I had to find my own way. And what better place to start was where my mother chose to leave me, in the streets. Leaving home was like shedding an old skin, a silent goodbye to a place that never truly felt safe. Each step toward Atlantic City carried a strange mix of relief and dread. I wasn't just moving, I was escaping, running towards something that felt more like me. Even if I had no idea what that was, the past clung to me, whispering in the back of my mind. But I kept walking. My sister was waiting. She was always been a mirror in so many ways to me. A few inches taller, a few shades lighter, her almond-shaped brown eyes that seemed to hold her entire lifetime within them. Our resemblance was uncanny. Our walks, our mannerism. People confused us all the time. And sometimes, I wish I could step inside of her skin and borrow her confidence and her presence. She had a beautiful smile, the kind that made you believe that she had it all together, even when life was unraveling at the seams. She had always carried herself like she knew exactly where she belonged. And me? I was still searching. She lived at the schoolhouse apartments on Baltic Ave, a place that had once been a school before they had turned it into affordable housing. The building still held echoes of the past, tall windows, high ceilings, that lingering scent of history mixed with the weight of struggle. It wasn't home, but it was a place to be. A place where I could try to find some footing. The moment I stepped inside, I felt it. This wasn't just a new chapter. It was an entire different book. The air inside the apartment was thick with unspoken words, with the weight of survival. The city pulsed outside and the streets alive with their own kind of rhythm. And for the first time in a long time, I wondered if I was walking into something that would finally heal me, or if I was simply running straight into another storm. Days blurred into nights, and soon I fell into the rhythm of my new world. My sister welcomed me. She had had her own life, her own struggles. She moved through the city like she belonged to it, like she had learned to survive it. I watched her, trying to understand how she did it, how she carried the weight of this place without letting it crush her. School was different here. The energy was raw and unpredictable. Kids walked through the halls like they had something to prove, like the world had already told them they weren't enough, and they were fighting to make it be known that they were. Fights broke out over the smallest things: pride, respect, territory. I kept my head down, but I could feel the eyes on me, measuring me up, deciding where I fit, or if I fit at all. The streets outside had their own set of rules, and I had to learn them fast. The boardwalk was alive, always moving, always shifting. It wasn't just a place, it was a whole world. People came looking for something to win, a thrill to escape. Some left with their pockets full, and others with nothing. And some, they didn't leave at all. I saw it all. The way the city would eat people up alive. The way it lured them in with the bright lights and the promise only for them to leave empty. Running around the city, I searched for places where I could belong. I wandered through the streets that felt both familiar and foreign, looking for something, anything, that made me feel like I had a purpose. But even as I searched, I wasn't really looking for anyone. I had learned early on that people came and went, and attachments only led to disappointment. So I just kept my head down, moving through the chaos, trying to carve out a space for myself in a world that never seemed to have room for me. But life was a strange way of working. Even when I wasn't looking for anyone, it felt like someone or something was looking for me. There were moments when I could feel it, an unseen force pulling me towards something bigger than myself. Something I couldn't quite define. Maybe it was destiny, or maybe it was just some randomness of the street. But deep down, I knew that whatever it was only a matter of time before it caught up with me. And then there was Joel. I don't remember the moment we met. Well, not in a way that it matters. But I remember the way he made me feel. Like I was invincible. Like I wasn't just another girl lost in the chaos of this place. He had a presence about him, the kind that made people pay attention. Short, with a strong build, caramels the skin, light brown eyes that held mischief and something else. Something dangerous. He had the kind of street smarts that couldn't be taught. The kind that made you either respect him or fear him. And me, I was drawn to him. Being around him made me feel like I was belonged to something bigger than myself. Like I had a place, purpose. I started changing without even realizing it. molding myself into someone who could fit into his world. And before I knew it, I had a new name, D-Block. A name that meant something, that carried weight. I thought I had found what I was looking for. The hood claimed me and named me.